Good evening and welcome to round 6 of the Esport Design's Cayman Supercup in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. It's the penultimate round of what has been a nail-biting season. From the wide-open expanses of the Porsche circuit in the south of France, we passed through Monaco and crossed the border into Italy, a journey which would have taken the grand total of 7 hours by car tonight, but I'm sure it took Steve Proudley's helicopter a lot less. And it's the glorious Imola that plays host to the race this evening. The former venue of the San Marino Grand Prix is steeped in motorsport history, and also the short but thrilling lifetime of this championship, with the inaugural race taking place here over 3 months ago. Last time out at Paul Ricard, it was rookie Tom Ryer who made amends for his baptism of fire at Spa to win the 90-minute feature race from pole position. The MSL Motorsports driver having to pass reigning champion Luca Burke on track, as the latter gambled on making his tyres last the entire race distance. It was, however, a fantastic drive from the number 87, who would secure a podium after only losing out to Kev Critchley, the BD Racing driver, picking up his second consecutive podium and his third of the season to put him amongst the title fight as we head into this penultimate race of the season. I'm your lead commentator tonight, Tim Fullbrook, one half of your Cayman commentary team, and I'm delighted to welcome my friend and Cayman-related comrade David Wressell. Now, DW back to sprint racing tonight, back to the Imola circuit. Whereas before there were plenty of unknowns the last time you raced here, tonight we certainly know the name of the game. It's 60 minutes of flat-out Cayman action.
Absolutely, yeah, Tim. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us this evening. Looking forward to this one. Like you say, back to where it all began. And it feels right that we're going back to Imola for a 60-minute race rather than a 90-minute one, because, of course, we had such an amazing race to kick things off, like I say, just over 3 months ago now. And if there's anything to do properly, it's going to be go back to Imola again for the penultimate race of the season. So, yeah, really looking forward to this one, mate. And like I say, although last time it was Luca Burke, of course, dare I say, disappeared out in front in this race, I don't think he's going to have it all his way this evening, and that's exactly what we've had over the last few rounds, and I'm sure we'll get some more this evening.
So let's take a look at the championship standings before we get the action underway tonight. It is Luca Burke who leads the way on 95 points, but despite having finished the last 5 races on the podium, a failure to finish the opening round of the season at Barcelona leaves him under added extra threat from the chasing pack. A total of 7 cars on that top 10 on your screen at the moment could still win the championship, and with 54 points, the maximum score. There's plenty of ways this could play out. Ross McGregor in second, Mr. Consistency. A margin of 10 points separates the Zansho Simsport driver from the top of the pile, and a minuscule gap of only 2 points separates McGregor from Critchley, Kailami race winner, who, if continues his form tonight, will be within championship contention come Silverstone. Jack McIntyre stays in 4th after a fighting finish 2P4 at Paul Ricard, with Jack Noller dropping to 6th as a result of the flying Tom Ryer, who, despite joining only a couple of rounds into the season, is certainly making an impact. And David, you look at the way the points are at the moment, top 15 obviously all scoring points, a point for pole, point for fastest lap. There's plenty of ways these next 2 races could play out, but with 7 drivers in contention, tonight is a more important race than you would think. A penultimate round really is going to set you up for the finale at Silverstone next week.
Absolutely, Tim, and like you say, to have 7 people still in with a shout, albeit some of them maybe, they're in there mathematically, should we say, but they're in with a shout nonetheless, because you never know what's going to happen with these kind of things. If we take a look back to, was it Snetterton at the last round last season, of course, Luca Burke was spun round of the first couple of corners, so you never know what might happen. But yeah, really nice and close. And speaking of things like that, then we're going to look to a hot lap in a second. But yeah, really, really close. And like I say, I'm really keen to see who's going to end up on top after the next couple of rounds.
So let's take a ride around these 4.909 kilometre circuits here at Imola on board the number 36 Cayman of Jack Noller as we fly down towards the first corner at Tamburello, braking slightly and turning into the left, right, left, convince the car to change direction, and Jack doing it spectacularly there. Multiple inputs on the steering wheel, keep the car over to the right hand side on the run down towards Villeneuve, throw the car in across the curb on the left, we chuck it across to the right hand side and use all the curb on the exit up the hill now towards Tozer, one of the slowest corners on the circuit, a hairpin that seems to go on forever, and then you take this blast up the hill towards Piratella. And David, this is a section of track that doesn't matter if you're a Formula One fan or a racing fan of bikes or cars. It's part of the track that is known throughout the motorsport world.
Oh, absolutely. It's an absolutely cracking piece of track, isn't it? Like I say, Piratella almost blind as you go up the hill when you come down towards Aquaminarale. That double apex, you take it so aggressively on the first apex, drop it down into second gear again. You see how much curb Jack is taking. He really is an aggressive driver of these Porsche Caymans, and he's showing it there. And then you come into Variante Alta, and yeah, it's exactly the same. It's just iconic corners from such an iconic track at the end of the day.
Down the hill then, getting use of all the track on the exit of the chicane into the final corners at Rivazza, turning under the bridge here, braking and going downhill. The braking zone elongated by the fact that gravity is working against you. Jack getting the car through, but not without a couple more inputs on the steering wheel, sliding through the final left-hander, and then it's pedal to the metal and keep it flat as you clip the wall or get as close to it on the right-hand side there, and on the run to the line to complete what is a spectacular lap here at Imola. One of my favourite, David, because all the corners have names, and that makes it far more exciting, doesn't it? It gives it plenty of character. But it's a circuit that does lend itself to racing that long stretch from the exit of Rivazza all the way up to Tamburello. Plenty of time to get alongside competition in front and go side by side into the first corner.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. And like you say, you'll see how important Rivazza will be come race time. And in fact, as we drop into qualifying now, you see how important it is there, because like you say, you're setting yourself up for potentially a move, or you're setting up a flying lap like Chris Crossman's doing now. So it's one of those that, yeah, there's so many important corners, but it is one of those old school racetracks. Make a mistake, and inevitably you're in the grass. There's no big long run-off areas like we had at Paul Ricard last week. So it is one of those where if you make a little mistake here or there, it can cost you quite a lot of time.
So the drivers completing their first qualifying laps this evening. The track conditions looking far more optimal compared to some of the races we've had so far this season. Ambient temperature of 23, track temperature 29 degrees C. There is no wind at all to play havoc with these Caymans as they rattle around this spectacular venue at Imola. The track is fast, so it has improved in terms of what the track is giving back to the car. In practice, they were running on a green circuit, so it looks to have improved as the server has skipped forward this session. As we see Luca Burke, reigning champion and current championship leader, starting his first hot lap, a previous lap of 1:52.8, not representative. Plenty of time still to be had from the number 87 as he comes down towards Tamburello. And through the left and the right, the car looking very much stable. And David, across these curbs, the red, white and green section is fairly flat and friendly, but there are these yellow sleeping policeman style anti-cut curbs that can really put a car offline.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw through the second apex of Villeneuve there, Luca Burke just catching ones on the inside through the right-hander, and it just offsettled the car a little bit. Didn't manage to do too much damage, but those particular ones can shift you off into the gravel trap on the other side of the track, so something to be aware of. And it is one of those where I think in a lot of cases, if you can hit them almost straight on, you can kind of almost jump over them. You can see Kev Critchley doing the same as well, and he looks like he's going to be putting in a good lap at the moment, so see where he ends up. But yeah, it's the kind of thing in a GT4 car, you can take them quite a bit, but you've still got to be careful, because in the wrong area, if you hit it in the wrong way, that's going to be game over. As you can see there, yeah, Kev Critchley, sorry, Tim goes pole.
Just going to say, yeah, Kev Critchley jumping to the top of the pile, the 149.653 puts him top spot. Jack Noller provisionally alongside him on the front row, but we wait a number of laps still to be completed from major contenders, the likes of Luca Burke on screen at the moment, yet to complete a representative time. Tom Ryer still in pit lane as well in the number 2 MSL Motorsports Cayman, with Max Spooner of E-Team Brit still yet to complete a lap, and Stain Paspont, the 444 Simsport racing car, yet to set times or leave pit lane. But here we go as Burke rounds the final kink to the right hand, and he crosses the line shortly, jumps up to 7th place, but still 0.7 of a second the deficit to championship contender Kev Critchley. And David, we're going to have to see Burke improve, because 6 cars separating him from the championship contention, a championship rival indeed, is not what Burke needs to start tonight's race.
Absolutely, but you know what we're like, Tim. Every time we've doubted Luca Burke's ability, he always has this knack of proving us wrong, doesn't he? So I'm sure we'll see him gain at least well, probably around about 7 or 8 tenths in all fairness. We know he's capable of it. And of course, Tom Ryer, and I'm sure Kev Critchley will be improving and setting lap times as well. Speaking of keeping an eye on the lap times, you can see you've just got on your screen at the moment, you've got the action in the bottom right hand corner, but in the main picture, that is pitwall.live, where Tim and I and all of you guys as well can go and have a look at the live timings as they come in. If you head over to pitwall.live and jump into the Simsport Solutions server, you can get all of this detail, and it's a really handy tool in terms of managing and keeping an eye on your favourite drivers and how they're getting on throughout the sessions this evening.
So Jack Noller now on the run to the line. Looks like he might improve, but we'll see. He does improve, and look at that once again. The margins in qualifying as close as ever. He goes just 1,000th shy of a tenth slower than Kev Critchley. So the top two separated by the blink of an eye, if not less than that. So it's Critchley and Noller on the front row, with McIntyre third and Florian Bauer of the eSport Designs Cayman in fourth place. Chris Crossman was just on screen then in fifth. Here is Florian heading down the hill into Ravazza. And he had 4 tenths up on his time, which would have seen him challenging for pole there or thereabouts, but he's lost it all through the second sector up at the top of the hill through the Variante Alta chicane. Meanwhile, Burke improving, and he jumps to pole position, so our reigning champion absolutely smashes it to set a margin of now nearly half a second between him and Critchley. That's a statement of intent, isn't it, David, from Luca Burke?
I told you we should never doubt. I mean, let's be honest, Tim, we never doubted him anyway, did we? We knew it was just going to be a sighting lap. And that is a sighting lap, to say the least. You see Jack Noller going through Aqua Minerale. He's got a few tenths in hand at the moment. He's got Steve Hindon and Kev Critchley ahead of him. So he's going to get a little bit of a tow down towards Ravazza and potentially onto the start-finish straight as well. Looks like he's keeping it all clean as he launches that MSL Motorsport Cayman over the inside curbs through Variante Alta and down the hill. And it's one of these, like you say, just needs to keep it clean for these last couple of corners. You can try and brake a little bit later thinking you're going to get it done, and then it just ruins that lap. He's got Kev Critchley in front, who's a couple of tenths up as well, so keep an eye on both of these two, because he might be seeing them potentially get a little bit closer, if not past Luca Burke, who's just dropped back into the pits.
So as we near the midway point of this qualifying session, Critchley and Noller set to improve on these laps. Critchley crosses the line, goes closer. Noller crosses the line as well, and gets a little bit closer as well, but it's still not enough. Critchley now second place, the best part of 3 tenths behind. So strange to say it, David, but that's quite a sizable margin in qualifying in this championship, isn't it? We're normally seeing gaps of thousandths, if not hundredths of a second. Burke's clearly got something in hand at the moment. Top 8 separated by a second. Steve Hindon actually just been knocked back down to 9th place. So there is still opportunity to improve. Find a tenth, find 2 tenths. You could see a benefit of a couple of positions. As always in this championship, qualifying very close indeed. Yeah,
absolutely. You can see Tom Ryer is going to cross the line now as well. He's in 18th for the moment, yet to set a time, but he does set a time. It's only in 14th at the moment, at 1:58. Again, a driver who I'm pretty confident will be improving over the next couple of laps. And the one person I am keeping a keen eye on, we talked about him a little bit a few moments ago, Tim, is Florian Bauer, because we've spoken to him a few times. So I say you've spoken to him, and he's always been fairly critical of his qualifying performances, and knows he needs to pull a bit more out of it. And if he can do it this evening, then he's clearly got the pace, and it'd be nice to see him a little bit further up the field.
So let's see how Florian fares this evening. Kieran Vidago on screen at the moment in the Simsport Racing Team number 4, heading down the hill into Aqua Minerale, just slightly understeering wide from that right hand apex, making use of all of the curb on the left hand side as he climbs up the hill and over the crest, and on the run down towards Variante Alta, all the curb on the right hand side, a little bit more shy through the left hand apex as he runs out of the chicane and down the hill. Yet to set a lap time is the number 4 Cayman. Vidago hasn't had the best of qualifying sessions this season. His best result coming 10th place at the opening round at Barcelona. He did manage to bag 8th place on the grid at Kailami in season 1. So let's see if Kieran has found pace this evening on the run to the line. Exit of Ravazza. Here he goes. Stays to the right hand side to minimise the distance to the line, and jumps up to 16th place, but still a margin of 2.1 seconds to pole position. So Kieran will be wanting to improve. 8 minutes on the clock, heading into the final moments of this very much important qualifying session. 60 minutes ahead of us No time to make pit stops and use those to your advantage this evening. As we see Bradley Brocky's heading down the hill into Ravazza in the 105 E-Team Brit car through the left-hander at Ravazza and on to this long start-finish straight. And David, we haven't mentioned it yet, but tonight, drive-through penalties, we've seen them crop up in this championship for track limits, or indeed for instance with other cars, but it's going to be exceptionally costly here tonight. It's a long old pit lane.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. And yeah, like you say, it's going to be very easy for these guys to get, in qualifying an invalidated lap. They're going to be pushing, especially into the likes of Piratella, where you can see David Belanger is going into now. If you go a little bit too wide, he looks to have just about kept it on the right side of legal there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And I would hazard a guess that we'll see at least 2 or 3 drivers heading through the pit lane before the end of the race this evening. An interesting note as well, the track is now at an optimum state. So we can see the only 2 drivers, the only driver left in the pit lane at the moment is Bradley Brocky's. But I'm sure we'll see all 21 cars out on track and setting some quicker lap times in the last 6.5 minutes.
As we see Florian Bauer running slightly deep at Aqua Minerali, that's going to be his lap time invalidated. Still plenty of time to go again for the number 10 eSport Designs driver. So let's see if Florian can improve. Currently 6th place, 8 tenths off pole position provisionally. Here's Chris Crossman on screen. The last of your drivers in the standings that could mathematically take the championship, but it's going to be a stretch for the number 3 BD Racing machine. He's in 7th at the moment. 9 tenths of a second slower than Luca Burke's provisional pole time, but looks to be improving as he runs through Aqua Minerali. He's got 2 tenths in hand, very close though on the left hand side, through the left hand apex, to invalidating his lap. Let's see if he continues though on the run down the hill towards Ravazza. Crossman will be picking out the final braking point of the lap, gets the car slowed down just about through the left hander and through the second left. The car looking fairly stable and kind of obedient is the word I would use. So Crossman potentially improving here. He doesn't cut the green asphalt there as much as other drivers choose to. But let's see, as he crosses the line, does he improve? No, he doesn't. So, he did go quicker, a 49.8, but an invalidated lap time doesn't see him move up the order, and that's going to be crucial for a number of these drivers as they try to put together their final efforts. And Ross McGregor, David, he's been one of the standout drivers this season, and a P5 will certainly help his championship chances.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. I think you mentioned it earlier. His captain consistent is Ross McGregor. He's done a fantastic job of doing exactly what he needs to do, and that is getting decent points finishes. I think the lowest he's finished was 7th at Kyle Army a couple of weeks ago, but I'm sure he'll be looking for a bit more tonight. He's 5th in the timing charts at the moment, still potential to improve. And I think just going back to Chris Crossman as well, I think the time he invalidated the lap was actually coming through Variante Alta, as these 2 guys at the moment, Ryer and Bauer, very close. And I think Florian Bauer there has done exactly the same thing Chris Crossman did. So I wonder if this lap is still valid, because again, I've driven this Imola track before and there can be some interesting track limits on there, especially going for a Variante Alta. But the one that always makes me chuckle is if you cut too much of that green AstroTurf you were talking about there, Tim, on the start finish straight, that can invalidate your lap as well. So interestingly, Chris was looking to ignore it, but he's going to get a nice big old slipstream from Tom Rice, 6 tenths up. We'll see if it's going to be a valid lap as he crossed the line. Like I say, was a bit aggressive through Variante Alta, but we'll see what the time's going to be. He goes up to 3rd, Tim, 2 tenths off, just as I've seen Kev Critchley's improved as well. So that gap up to Luca Burke is starting to close.
So Bauer must have been playing the track limits margin absolutely to perfection then. So jump up to 3rd place. So as drivers are lining up for they've got 2, potentially 3 laps at a push now. In the remainder of this session, it is Burke that leads the way with Critchley, Bauer, Noller and McIntyre. As we see, Chris Crossman just jumps up to 4th place with a spectacular lap time from the number 3 BD Racing car. He gets a 1 minute 49.662, but there could be an immediate fight back from Jack McIntyre, who's 3 tenths up on his time at the moment, out of Ravazza cleanly. And on the run to the line, let's see if the number 37 Zancho Simsport driver can improve. Yes, he goes up to 4th and knocks Crossman from the position he just worked so hard to gain. The gap now, he's down towards 3 tenths of a second behind Burke. That was a 1 minute 49.512. And looks like McIntyre's going to go again Cloutier and Belanger, two of the EGT Motorsport cars in pit lane, as well as Thomas Lavoie, who's down in 19th. So all three of the Canadian squad are in pit lane at the moment. As we see Al Buncombe here fighting the car through Acqua Minerale. He's 2 tenths up on his time. That could see him knock Ross McGregor from 7th place. And David, someone like Al Buncombe is really going to be a cat amongst the pigeons in terms of the championship fight, because he's very much quick. He's very much ruthless out on track. He could cause a few headaches and need some of the drivers needing paracetamol post-race.
Absolutely, Tim. And it's really one, I think it's an opportunity missed for Al this season. He's had a couple of incidents. He's been caught up in a couple of accidents here and there. I think the biggest thing is, I'm sure I could speak for both of us here, it's been quite a few drive-throughs for Al, unfortunately, which has kind of compounded some results for him. He's lost a 10th, and then he's lost all of that time. As you see, he's just aborting out of that lap, and he's going to retreat back to pit lane. But Ross McGregor, Captain Consistent, is a couple of tenths up at the moment. I think that's one of the BD racing machines in front of him. I don't know if he's going to get a tow. He might be a bit too far back. Does manage to improve. Goodness me, he got all the way up to 3rd, and has an identical lap time to the number 15 machine of Kev Critchley. That is something that in sim racing commentary I have never seen until now.
Well, let's hope it stays that way, because that'd be a perfect stat. And I'm sure as soon as we say someone's... Normally, David, what happens is you remark about two times being identical, and then someone improves or changes their lap time, and that disapproves on the screen. I've had that a few times. But Critchley is improving as well, so he could be an immediate fight back from the number 15, who holds on to 2nd place, owing to the fact that he set the lap time before Ross McGregor. So it's Burt Critchley McGregor separated by 0.141 of a second. Then it's Florian Bauer, a little over a tenth further back. Jack McIntyre rounding out the top 5 as we head into the final minute of this penultimate qualifying section, as Critchley has a tenth up on his time, heading down the hill into Ravazza, clean again through the final 2 left-handers and onto the straight. It looks like he's lost a little bit of time on the run to the line. He's going to have that pedal pushed through the pedal board. Can Critchley improve? Yes, he does, but it's not enough. And Nolla behind takes 2nd place.
Wow.
Nolla, MSL Motorsport, jumps up to the front row. What a time, David.
Wow, I mean, goodness me, what a lap from Jack Nolla that was. Just completely out of nowhere, to be completely honest with you. The top 4, 3 of the top 4 have gone back into pit lane, so they're not going to be improving. Jack's got enough time to do another lap, so we'll keep an eye out and see whether he's going to improve. Tom Ryer has got himself up to 6th. I was just about to remark on the fact he's had a fairly substandard qualifying, but I do know he's not feeling particularly 100% this evening, so I'm sure he'll be happy being 2 tenths off. Regan Mitchell coming through the second Ravazza. He's got 2 tenths in hand. That's going to shift him up into the top 8, you would imagine, just ahead of Chris Crossman and Al Buncombe if he's kept the time. As you see, he's got to cross the line. He's in 10th at the moment. Puts himself up to 9th, so just behind Chris Crossman. And all of a sudden, Tim, we're talking about how there's a slightly larger gap than we're used to, and then all of a sudden, top 8 split by 5 tenths of a second. It's just actually crazy.
Yeah, exactly what we love in this series. Daniel Handover on screen. In only his 2nd race in the championship is improving. So a couple of tenths in hand. That could see him move up from 11th place to inside the top 10, potentially challenging Mitchell in the number 69 Simsport racing car. So let's see whether Handover can improve on the run out of the final corner at Ravazza. He stays to track right to minimise the distance to the line. And as he crosses the timing beam, he does jump up to 10th place, 0.03 of a second between himself and Mitchell, but a top 10 on hand for Handover. Then McIntyre on screen at the moment. He has taken the checkered flag. Looks like he did improve on that final lap as well. So he goes within a 10th of a second of Burke's qualifying time and provisional pole. Can Riot knock him from top spot though? Crosses the line. No, he can't. So Riot stays 7th. And David, a spectacular qualifying session once again. We look at the standings. Burke, Nolla, McIntyre and Critchley separated by basically a 10th of a second. Looking all the way down to P12, Steve Hinden, for a 1 second gap in lap times. The margins of performance on this grid are as close as ever. But tonight we've got that added spice of there being a championship very much on the line in the penultimate round, because you want to be setting up your final race of the season and it started with qualifying tonight. An interesting session there.
Absolutely, Tim, and like you say, as close as we like to see it in this esports design Cayman Cup, it's something we've almost grown accustomed to over the last season and a half, nearly 2 seasons. And I'm sure we'll get some more next week at Silverstone as well. But yeah, fantastic lap from Luca Burke. He's been a little bit off the pace in qualifying the last couple of rounds, so it's very important, I think, for him to get that pole position. And importantly for him, he's got a couple of cars between himself and one of his championship rivals, Kev Critchley. The only downside is that he's got another couple of them not too far behind as well, so he's going to have them chasing him down over the next 60 minutes. The one that I'm going to keep an eye on, though, is the one who you can see is the focus of the camera, although we're on the Simsport Solutions segue as always to run you through this beautiful looking field. But the one I'm going to be keeping my eye quite keenly on is that, in fact, it's the guy in 7th and the man in 6th. It's Tom Ryer and Florian Bauer, because like I say, Tom a little bit under the weather. We talked about it. I'm sure he probably could have gone quicker if he needed to, and Florian's got a really good qualifying lap time in there. Really keen to see how both of those guys get on in the race.
So let's run you through the order. Luca Burke on pole position alongside Jack Noller on the front row. Then it's McIntyre and Critchley on row 2 with McGregor and Florian Bauer on the 3rd row. Then the driver on the right-hand side of your screen at the moment, the number 2 MSL Motorsports car of Tom Ryer in 7th place with Chris Crossman in 8th. And it's the black and white Simsport Solutions car of Regan Mitchell, number 69, in 9th, with Daniel Handover rounding out your top 10 for Zancho Simsport. He was just over 0.5 of a second off pole position. Then Al Buncombe, after looking strong early on in qualifying, seemed to be unable to improve, now down in 11th, and start the race from that position alongside series organiser Steve Hinton, and also creator of so many of the liveries on the grid. And you can get yourself a design for your car across many sim racing platforms from eSport Designs. Make sure to check them out. And then on the right hand side of your screen, Pierre-Olivier Cloutier in 13th with teammate David Belanger alongside in the number 222 EGT Motorsports car. Then we have John Clements rounding out the top 15. Top 15 is important, as those are the drivers that will score points come the checkered flag tonight. So there will be from 16th down to 21st. Those drivers will not benefit in the championship, as we see on the left-hand side there. Darrell Upton in 16th with Stain Passpont in the 444 on the right-hand side, alongside teammate Kieran Vidago. Then it's Thomas Lavoie, Max Spooner and Bradley Brockies rounding out the 21 runners and riders that will hopefully take the green flag after the formation lap. And David, the racing here at Imola can sometimes be professional. It's more often than not professional. I meant to say processional as through some of the technical sections of the circuit. But with these GT4 cars, with the power of the slipstream, as we've seen in the races so far, there's going to be plenty of action into particular hotspots like Tamburello, but also up the hill into out of Aqua Minerale and up towards Variante Alta.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim, and it's the beauty of one of these spec series. It is one of those where it's not possible to see one car really dominate over the other. You see this beautiful aerial shot. It's such a long track from one end to another. It's quite difficult to get the entire thing in. You can see we're missing the Ravazzas on the left-hand side, but no matter. And like you say, as you see, Steve Proudley's heard me in the Simsport Solutions helicopter, and I've only just noticed him. There's in fact an athletics track on the infield, which I've never noticed before. And one thing we'll have to keep a lookout for is what you said. I think you said it last week, that we have to look for some masked up people in the crowds, because I know you mentioned that was a little thing that the Klinos guys had popped into there, so I'm keen to see. But yeah, I'm sure we won't have to worry about keeping an eye out too much for those, because if we know anything comes in association with this eSport Designs Cayman Supercup, it's action and it's overtakes. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see plenty of them for the next hour.
Here we go. Look, here are some of the fans. Look at this. See? Look at those enjoying the racing action on track, all masked up and socially distancing as well. Exactly what we like to see. And before the cars roll away on the formation lap, a brief moment to thank those who have made this championship possible. It's great to have on board MSL Motorsport Consultancy, Porschesport Race Department and Grid Finder, with all races hosted on the Simracing.gp platform. And also shout out to James Madrill as well for taking some excellent photography of this series. I've enjoyed the virtual artwork, I'll call it, that is spilled from the racing action. Very much enjoyed that, and hoping tonight for some more fantastic shots of the racing action. But Burke leads them away on this formation lap, and he's got Nola will be starting alongside. It's a long run down towards the first sequence of corners at Tamburello, and David, we rarely see the pack file down into single file until really we've rounded Tozer and potentially come the end of the lap. It's such a switchback circuit. Some of the corners allow you to use a bit of a suboptimal line around the outside to keep a position, and with these Caymans, all of the same spec, there's no success ballast. You can see these cars sticking side by side for plenty of corners.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out of Tamburello in the leading position. Like I say, Luca Burke, because he's obviously finished on pole, he will get he'll get the inside line into Tamburello for the first time. Whether he'll come back out of it with that inside line and the first place in the race remains to be seen. Jack Nolla, of course, best position of this championship was the third place back at Catalunya in the first race of the season. Since then, he's been consistent, and like you say, he's one of those who within a chance just about of being in with a sniff of the championship, and a good result here, which he started by getting second on the grid, is not beyond the realms of possibility. One thing he does have to make sure he does, though, is outscore Luca Burke, the man in front of him. So he's going to be going all guns blazing, I'm sure, into the first couple of corners. And like I say, even though he's got the outside line, that'll switch to the inside very quickly with the way that the first couple of corners goes. So keep an eye out for him and see if he can make some moves on the first couple of corners.
So with pole position for Burke, he adds 1 point to his tally. He's now on 96 points, and should he bag the fastest lap and Ross McGregor finish 8th place and not race next week, we will see the championship go the way of Burke tonight. But there's a lot of ifs and maybes in that. We'll try and keep you up to date with where the championship stands before we go into the final round of the season. But it's certainly advantage Burke starting from pole tonight. But the likes of Nolla and McIntyre, who are potentially outsiders for challenging for the overall championship, could be causing an issue with Critchley and McGregor in 4th and 5th behind. You've got to look to 6th and 7th with Bauer and Raya definitely placed to cause a few headaches up and down the field. So as the grid get ready, they form into two lines of stunning looking Porsche 718 Caymans. The race will get underway shortly. It's a surprisingly long trundle round to the green flag. They don't take it between these two right-hand kinks. They will go past the second one, and there's a bridge that they will take the green flag at. So we'll have to wait a few more seconds before they get underway. But it will be Burke who will be attempting to hold that inside line and get the jump to stop any challenge from Nolla, McIntyre and Critchley, who are all very close in behind. It's the penultimate round of the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup, and we go green here at Imola, and it's Burke who's failed to get away cleanly. Nolla swooped round the outside and in fact leads down towards Tamburello. They're 2 to 3 wide behind, as it looks like Burke is now having to defend from Critchley, who's trying to go around the outside to become the inside. Burke's fighting back though against Nolla, who has rather surprisingly jumped up to the race lead. They all seem to make it cleanly through the first sequence of corners and out towards Villeneuve for the first time. Nolla leads the way. Burke close behind though, and actually tapping the rear slightly of Nolla, and a spin behind. That's Critchley. Critchley off. Critchley in the barrier on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. That has massive championship implications. He spun off towards the right hand side and definitely made contact with the wall. He looks to have got going again, but right down the order. Burke though, second place now, coming under fire from McIntyre and Bauer, who are side by side into Piratella for the first time. Raya looking to take advantage as well, but David, it looked like everyone had got through cleanly, but that slide from Nolla just looked to have checked everyone up, and Critchley turned into the barrier. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It was so close between them, and it just looked like Luca Burke was almost asleep off the line. He was so slow in comparison to the majority of drivers around him. He almost dropped the position to Jack McIntyre, who's looking around the outside into Tamburello as well, but he's just about managed to hold on to it. And I just noticed as they went through the second apex, as he just tried to go to the inside of the third corner as they go down towards Villeneuve, Jack Nolla just shaped across and just covered the line quite nicely. And then, yeah, it's interesting to see. I wonder if it was a bit of a nudge from Burke as they came out of Villeneuve, but yeah, it just seemed to offset them. And such a shame for Kev Critchley. He's down in 20th, so he's got all the work to do, and potentially, barring any miraculous mistakes from Luca Burke, which we've really struggled to see. They've been few and far between this season. That could be Critchley without of a chance of winning the championship.
So lap 1 complete. Nolla leads the way from Burke, but he's harried by McIntyre and Florian Bauer behind. In fact, Bauer going slightly wide into the first left-hander at Tamburello. Did he get the car gathered up? It looks like no. He's lost a position to Raya, and he's coming under fire from Ross McGregor. So that could be 2 positions lost in the space of 3 corners for the eSport Designs driver. It looks like he's just managed to keep Ross McGregor at bay, closing the door into Tozer. There's contact between the two of them. McGregor hops on the anchor and nips up the inside to get the job done. He's past the number 10 Cayman, who flashes the lights, rather to say that wasn't on at all. So let's see if Bauer fights back as his car spits flames on the run into Piratella, as we're going to get a replay. This is the run down towards Villeneuve. So that's Nolla, Burke and Critchley, your top 3. There's a little bit of a tap over the curb there from Burke, and it looks like behind contact, yes, between the front right of McIntyre and the rear left of Critchley, sent him spinning over to track right. But David, we've seen this concertina effect so many parts of different tracks around this championship, where so many cars trying to file through the first sequence of corners. It's not really any malicious intent, is it? It's just the pack backing up and getting on the gas and stretching out again that can cause problems.
Yeah, absolutely. The concertina effect applied very much there, and like you say, there was nothing Jack McIntyre could do. Just putting the power down as you'd expect to be doing at that point. And like you say, you've got a Kev Critchley in front of you with nowhere really to go. So it's unfortunate for Kev, but I don't think he's really got anything to have a moan about. You can see him in the picture all over the back of Thomas Lavoie. So he's made a few positions off the last lap, so he's still making the moves. You see Florian Bauer shaping to the inside of Ross McGregor, lost the position going deep into Tamburello, but he's got the inside line now. Ross McGregor, he's going to go round the outside and holds onto that position. Ballsy move from Ross, and it's paid off, and he's just about clinging on to 5th place, but he's got Regan Mitchell for company now as well, and if he's not too careful, Al Bunkum's going to get onto the scene as well.
All this battling is costing them time. They're now 2 seconds off the back of the top 4. Tom Ryer's number 2 MSL Motorsports car, just rounding out that battle pack. So to run you through the order, it's Nolla, Burke, McIntyre, Ryer, then it's McGregor, Bauer, Mitchell, Bunkum, Handover and Clements rounding out your top 10s. Chris Crossman has definitely dropped down the order to P11. He's just in front of this man on screen at the moment, David Belanger. As we see in the picture-in-picture, Bauer and McGregor going at it once again on the run down the hill into Aqua Minerale. Bauer almost nudging the back of the Zancho Simsport car into the right-hander, has to check up, and a gap of a car's length or so just forms. But in fact, Bauer almost fainting to the inside to not only look up the inside of McGregor, but also a bit of a defensive line to stop Regan Mitchell from trying to make an ambitious pass. But this, what was a duo battling hard, has definitely become a trio, and now it's definitely become a quartet, because as you said there, David, the number 23 of Al Bunkum has closed up significantly over this most recent lap. So there's a top 4 battling, then positions 5 to 8 are battling, and then there's a whole train of cars from 8th all the way down, it seems, to 18th, separated by a few tenths. But battling, you can see visually, costs you time, because now this quartet here, nearly 3 seconds, or over 3 seconds off the back of the top 4, as Bauer looks to the inside into Tamburello once again, and McGregor once again has the answer around the outside. It's costing them even more time, David.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see Florian Bauer still all over him. You see Kieran Vidal going over the sausage curves. We talked about trying to avoid some of them. They're clearly the ones to avoid. As Bauer's made the move in the picture-in-picture into Villeneuve. Lovely late lunge into the first apex. Gets that move done perfectly, as Kev Critchley's now looking for the move on Kieran Vidago. And I did get the impression as Kev Critchley goes a little bit wide. He's got Darrell Upton close for company as well. Fortunately, doesn't have a repeat of the lap 1 incident going through Villeneuve. Manages to keep himself on the black stuff. Al Bunkum in the background, and the foreground, just getting up towards Regan Mitchell, but Bauer is going to look to try and check out and try and claw back that 4-second gap. We're only 7 minutes into this race, Tim, so plenty of time for him to do it, but I did get the impression that Bauer was going to get past Ross McGregor at some point eventually, and he's done it sooner rather than later for his race hope this evening.
Crucial though, he'll need to kick on. It looked like they were fairly closely matched in terms of pace. Let's see if McGregor can fight back over the next few turns, and indeed the long run from Ravazza all the way through to Tamburello. Looks like he's just clinging on. Meanwhile, Mitchell here on screen, the number 69, the black and white Simsport Solutions car, has got Al Buncombe for company. That Rocket Simsport car looking exceptionally close and looking in fine fettle at the moment, running in 8th place as they come out of the Ravazza curve and on to the start-finish. I do want to say straight there, but the run from Ravazza all the way up to Tamburello through the two right-handers that you take absolutely Harry flatters. And to the inside, Tom Ryan looking for a way past Jack McIntyre for the final step on the podium, and he's got the job done into Tamburello, but in fact runs slightly wide. McIntyre trying to cut back through the final left-hander, gets the job done. There is an overlap there, so 37 and 2 running side by side into Villeneuve. Ryan attempting to go round the outside of the left-hander, which becomes the inside. And once again, McIntyre trying to cut back on the exit to get the run past the MSL Motorsports car. Ryan's going to try and park it on the apex though of the left-handed hairpin at Tozer, and does so to keep McIntyre behind and hold on to his podium position for now, as we see a penalty being applied to Alex Buncombe at plus 15 seconds for a collision with car number 3, which was Chris Crossman. So it's another difficult race for Buncombe, handed a penalty. We'll see the stewards apply that shortly as they run down the hill through Aqua Minerale. We're now looking, actually, this is the battle for the lead. I was just going to say Burke is closer than he has been in the opening 8 and a bit minutes. Burke is all over the back of Noller and will be surely attempting to make a move soon. But David, we've seen it from Burke. He's very much measured. He knows when to make the move and how to make it. We wouldn't be surprised to see him just continue to size up Noller and gain that information on where and how to make the pass.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It's worth noting as well that Jack's actually really quick himself. I mean, you have to be quick if you're going to be leading the race, especially against someone like Luca Burke. But he actually did the fastest lap of the race on the last time out. We'll see what that's going to be as they cross the line. He's gained another 10th there or thereabouts, although in the grander scheme of things, Luca was actually 3/10 quicker on the last lap. And just to come back to the battle, that amazing bit of racecraft between Tom Ryan and Jack McIntyre really pays point to what you said earlier, Tim, about the fact that through so many of these corners you can take 2 different lines, because if I count it correctly, I think there were 6 or 7 corners where they actually took contrasting lines, and Jack really tried as hard as he could, but just couldn't hold on to the position. And Tom's now going to be, he's not managed to check out from Jack just yet, but he's going to have his eyes firmly focused on the back of this Rocket Simsport car.
See if he can close a 1.8 second gap between himself and the top pairing. Certainly got the better pace compared to the rest of the field. In fact, the next quickest driver is Florian Bauer in 5th place. Noller and Burke doing 50.8 and 50.5 respectively. Bauer 50.4. So there are some quick drivers out there. Ryan and McIntyre losing time on that previous lap due to their battling to the tune of about, anywhere between 4/10 and indeed a second, as we see on screen. Daniel Handover coming under fire from John Clements and Chris Crossman. This is a battle for 9th, 10th and 11th positions as they go through Variante Alta. Clements looking strong at the moment. His best finish coming at Kyalami, where he finished 6th place. And it looks like he's on for another top 10 finish, but with 48 or 49 minutes still to go. All could change. We see a 15-second penalty applied to Chris Crossman, who's in the back of this train of 3 cars, getting a penalty for a collision with car number 80, which is Steve Hinton, who's all the way down in 20th place. So a few incidents being seen by the stewards in the opening couple of laps here at Imola. And David, the stewards have been quick to hand out penalties. Of course, live stewarding here at Esport Designs Cayman Supercup, side by side, Darrell Upton and Max Spooner into Tamburello, and Spooner gets the job done to take 16th place. He's close to a points finish, which would be the first points for the Team Brit squad. So let's see if Max can kick on now and drop this battle behind. Certainly an angry looking podium sim racing car there, as they almost make contact through Villeneuve and on the run up towards Tozer, as to the outside Pierre-Olivier Cloutier. Very close stuff, David.
Absolutely, Tim. I think there was a bit of a nudge from Darrell Upton on Max Spooner there, but he did a fantastic job of doing it. But look at this at the front going through Aqua Minerale. Luke, a little bit of a nudge on the inside of Jack Noller there, and Tom Ryer's gone and joined the party as well. And Jack McIntyre only half a second behind. This is very much a quartet, and Florian Bauer is going to be looking at this, licking his lips, thinking, right, if you lot keep battling, I'm going to be on the back of you in a couple of laps' time. As Kev Critchley, Tim, drops into the pits. I was just about to say he was in 15th place. He dropped down to 20th, and as a result is now back into the pit lane. I wonder if he's retiring from this race, which is, like I say, was pretty much out of the chance of having any form of a chance in the championship. That seems to be all gone now. He's retired, but Jack Noller going out onto the gravel there. That's going to put him under a lot of pressure.
As we see, running down across the start-finish line, Burke gets the run around the outside of Noller there, side by side, as they cross the start-finish line to start what is lap 8, as they run up towards Tamburello into the left-hander. Burke's got the inside, but Noller's going to close the door, and contact between the number 36 and 87. They both skip through the gravel on the outside, and as Noller rejoins contact with Ryer, there's cars spinning off everywhere. That's the two MSL Motorsport cars making contact in between the right and left turns 2 and 3. Disaster for that squad, as the number 2 and the number 36 plummet down the order. Noller looked so competitive fighting with Burke, but that incident through Tamburello has seen him drop right down. He's now just outside the top 10. He's down to 11th, but surely with damage. David, that was just 2 into 1, was never going to go, but the real incident kicked off as they attempted to rejoin the circuit in between turns 3 and 4, really.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. And like you say, it was so close going down the main straight. You saw Jack Noller get on the grass coming out of Ravazza 2, put him under pressure. He looked like he had the legs on Luca Burke, and then, like you say, just caught into each other in that rejoin. It's one of those where I think when you're fighting for the positions you just want to try and get back onto the track as quickly as you possibly can, and maybe just shades of a lack of composure from the two of them maybe just caused that further contact. Real big shame. Tom Ryer's managed to bring himself back out in fifth on the track, but Jack Noller all the way down and outside of the top 10. That is a real shame, because with the speed he had, he looked like he had the check on Luca Burke, and he looked like he could have been in with a chance of a victory tonight, but that is out the window now.
So let's await any decision from the stewards. They will be reviewing the incident. It has been flagged by the Assetto Corsa Competizione in-game system, which then our stewards, provided by race department, will take a look at and see if there's any blame to be handed. We'll keep you across any live penalties and any decisions made. And David, before the action kicked off again, I was going to say that the stewards, although they've been strict in some situations, are happy to see a little bit of door-to-door racing, but this looks like it could have been a step too far. Noller early on trying to close the door on Burke or just give him the squeeze. Still leaves room on the run through this long left towards Tamburello, and as they head into the braking zone, Burke up the inside, just a little bit of a hip check there. It's really difficult to see if anyone moved offline, but this is the issue here. As Noller rejoins, he's completely unsighted to the fact that Ryer is on his left-hand side, and the two cars just make contact. Noller off towards the right and into the barrier, and Ryer skipping across the grass on the inside. A really difficult incident for all involved there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, it was very much a case of 2 into 1 doesn't go. I think if I was to be a steward in that position, I think the coming together between Noller and Burke is probably a little bit innocuous, to be honest. It was just a case of Jack, I think he was just trying to take the line, wasn't aware of how far along Luca Burke was, but then those rejoins were a little bit naughty, to say the least. Fortunately for Ryer in particular, he, as you saw, he just shaped to the inside, caught the front bumper slightly on the tyre wall on the inside, but looked to come out relatively unscathed. Like I say, the big loser out of that one, unfortunately, was Jack Noller. Ryer, of course, The former has actually made himself back up into 4th. He's gone past Ross McGregor, so he's got to try and do it all over again and get himself back up to the back of that leading trio, which is currently Luca Burt, Jack McIntyre and Florian Bauer now, who's had a very decent start to this race, mainly because he's just managed to keep himself out of trouble.
And on screen at the moment, Max Spooner, who looked in contention to be into the points positions for the first time this season, has sadly now dropped down to 19th place. But he's lapping with teammate Bradley Grockies. They're at 19th and 20th on the track with 43 minutes to go. Lapping at an okay speed. Let's see if they can improve their pace a little bit and start catching the pack in front, or indeed sit and wait and see if any of the fireworks benefit them. As Tom Ryer on screen at the moment in 4th place, and looking at the points as it stands, if Burke continues and wins tonight, and Kev Critchley, who is in pit lane and looks unlikely to rejoin, that will see Critchley now out of the championship fight heading into the final round of Silverstone. So it could be a knockout blow for the number 15 BD Racing driver, who has definitely looked in hot contention across this season. And you start to wonder if he was able to race at Spa. We all know sometimes real life gets in the way of sim racing, but if we had seen him present at the race in Belgium, whether he would have been in a stronger championship stead, and whether a DNF like this would have kept him in the fight heading into Silverstone. John Clements, though, in 8th place, battling hard with Regan Mitchell. He's got just under half of a second in handover, if you see what I did there, David.
Very good.
I did have that one prepared and crossed that one off my bingo card for tonight. With Crossman in 10th, who's got that 15-second penalty. And then there's Nolla behind in the number 36. And Jack has been certainly one to watch across this season, David, hasn't he? And tonight we're going to have to see him pull together some sort of recovery drive after that incident with Burke. But if anyone can do it, I'm pretty sure Nolla will be able to scrap his way up the field.
Oh, absolutely. You can see he's all over the back of Chris Crossman in the background there. As you see, he's just going to the outside into Tamburello. It's going to be an interesting move. It would potentially put him on the inside for the second apex, and he's going to try and do it the long way round. That's a really, really good move from the number 36 MSL Motorsport driver. And yeah, he's got it all to do. I feel for the lad, because like I say, he was really quick in qualifying. He clearly had the pace to mix it with the top 3 or 4. Just a shame, like I say, got caught up in that incident and was really the one who came off worst, unfortunately. He's dropped down, but he's back into the top 10 now. He's still got 40 minutes left of this race. There's a bit of a gap ahead. It's looking to the tune of about 15-20 seconds up towards. In fact, actually, I tell a complete and utter lie. He's only 10 seconds behind Luca Burke. So with 40 minutes left to him, still a chance for the young lamb.
So we see on screen confirmation a 15-second penalty handed to Pierre-Olivier Cloutier in the number 39 for a collision of the driver of the number 21 car, which is Daryl Upton of Podium Sim Racing, who's currently in 18th position. So Cloutier, who's running around in 17th, will have 15 seconds added to his time post-race. So a smattering of penalties being handed out by the stewards, as we've just elapsed 20 minutes of this penultimate round of the season. Luca Burke leads the way from Jack McIntyre. There's a bit of a gap back to Florian Bauer in the eSport Design. So we see a battle down the hill. That's Nolla wide on the grass. Can he get it stopped, or this is going to be contact? No! Skips across the grass and takes out Regan Mitchell, the number 69 Simsport Solutions car, in the gravel and looking to rejoin. And David, just as we said, we thought Nolla could scrap his way back through the field. He's had another incident. Surely down and out now. Oh, absolutely, Tim. That was very much a case of almost trying to make the moves a bit too quickly. We know that's not really a move you can make, especially unless you're side by side already coming into Ravazza. That right hander can be deceptively tight compared to what you might expect. You just saw him get those wheels on the grass, and as soon as he did that, there was absolutely no chance he was getting it stopped. I thought he was just about going to make it through the middle circle. I think it was Valentino Rossi at the Australian MotoGP MotoGP a couple of years ago. We had someone come literally straight across the front of him. But no, unfortunately, took Regan Mitchell with him, and that is a big shame, because he looked like he was back on track and making some moves. And then, yeah, game, set and match, I think, for the MSL Motorsport driver. So this battle on screen, though, is exceptionally close. This is the race lead because McIntyre is able to close up to the back of Burke, and it's 3 for the lead. Burke in the white and Dayglow greeny yellow colours of Rocket Simsport leads the way. Then it's the blue and silver Cayman of Jack McIntyre, and then the black and red Esport Designs Cayman of Florian Bauer. 3 cars separated by less than half a second as they run down towards Rivazza. Here's Al Buncombe on your screen, currently in 6th place. He's got John Clements for company behind, so 6th and 7th are going at it, and Buncombe's got that 15-second penalty that will be added to his race time after taking the checkered flag, so he will be dropping down the order. But to what extent, and with still over half the race to go, that penalty can have a differing effect depending on the gaps behind you and whether any incident plays out. Clements is looking strong at the moment in the slipstream then on this long run down towards Tamburello. As behind we see Daniel Handover and Chris Crossman having a mirror image battle just a few seconds down the road. There you go, so it's 2x2 into Tamburello. You see Buncombe able to hold off Clements and Handover able to keep Crossman at bay, so it's a stalemate at the moment as they run through Tamburello and down towards Villeneuve. As we see, Jack Noller's just headed to pit lane, so the number 36, who started so strongly, has called time on his race this evening, and that's very much a shame for Jack, and that will see him drop out of championship contention heading into the final round. He was an outside bet, but at the moment it's almost certain that he won't be able to fight back mathematically, as side by side up the hill into Piratella. Buncombe and Clements up the inside, gets the job done. Can Buncombe fight back? He's going to be on the outside as they run down into the double right Aqua Minerale. Can he get the job done as Clements sliding the car through the first right? Can he get it stopped? Just about, but Buncombe's able to carry the speed through the complex in the dip there and up over the crest and on towards Variante Alta. Unable to fight back, but he stays in close contention. As you see, a spin. Not sure if there was contact there. Clements off the track right. David just very close there. Another part of the track where the cars back up and stretch out again. Difficult to tell what happened there.
Absolutely, I'm sure the stewards will be keeping a close eye on that. I'm sure that'll have been submitted instantly via the sim, and they'll be very aware and keeping a keen eye on that. Yeah, Jack Noller actually completely out of the race entirely. He's dropped out of the server as well, which is a real shame. He was certainly carrying some good pace, but unfortunately, obviously, not going to be able to finish this one off. But at the front, it's looking very hot and heavy at the moment. You've got Jack McIntyre very close behind Luca Burke, and then you've got Florian Bauer behind him, and Tom Ryder keeping an eye on the gap between him and Bauer. That is closed by just under a second so far. Handover just behind Buncombe now. He's going to try and make the move after he dispatched John Clements going through Variante Alta. Of course, we'll see any repercussions of that shortly, I've no doubt. I'm sure, though, Dan Handover will be wanting to try and get that move done as cleanly as possible. But he's got to be very careful because he's got a very quick Chris Crossman behind him, and he's in a time penalty sandwich, Tim. So it's a bit of a difficult one. Do you try and get past him? As you can see there, Al Buncombe handed it. Well, he's got a drive through. No confirmation from the steward yet, but that might well be courtesy of track limits. So we'll see what happens there.
So another penalty going the way of Al Buncombe, but yes, a drive-through penalty is typically the result of track limits infringements. So let's see how this plays out. Instant between 87 Luca Burke and 36 Jack Noller to be investigated after the race. Very interesting. So the result tonight and Luca Burke's position very much with an asterisk next to it. That could change post-race. So bear that in mind if you're playing along at home and keeping up to date with all the scores and standings, because Burke's final position could come under threat and change, alteration post-race. And David, we do love if the mix already, if the palette of the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup wasn't spicy enough, that's certainly throwing in some extra into the mix.
Absolutely. There's something tantalising about the words "to be investigated" after the race. I don't know what it is, but it just gets you going, doesn't it? And it's going to be really intriguing to see what happens. And like I say, I'm not going to suggest one way or another what I think was the case. You see Al Buncombe heading into pit lane to serve his drive-through. Steve Hinden we see now in an EGT Motorsport sandwich with Thomas Lavoie ahead and Pierre-Olivier Cloutier behind. as we can see, Kev Critchley's dropped out as well. So we're now down to 19 runners still going. We'll see whether Al Buncombe, where he turns out. I imagine he's going to be at the back, but Steve Hinden shapes to the outside, going down to Tambuolo. We've seen quite a few people make some moves around there. He doesn't manage to do it just this time. Thomas Lavoie is going to hold on to the position, but he looks like he's compromised as he comes out of the final apex, and Steve's going to have the run. Is he going to get the overlap going into Villeneuve? It looks like he will. Just on the inside, bit of a hip check between the two of them, but Steve, in what is now becoming a very battered and bruised eSport Designs Porsche Cayman, that livery's had better days, just about manages to make the move and gets himself up into 13th place.
Well, Thomas Lavoie and Pierre-Olivier Cloutier giving each other a little bit of a closer margin than they would want as teammates out on track, and if they can hold on to their current positions, obviously Cloutier carrying a 15-second penalty, I believe it will be the first time that a team with 3 cars inside the points will take the checkered flag, so that could be an important result for the EGT Motorsport squad, but obviously with 32.5 minutes to go it could all change, and especially with that penalty still to be applied to Cloutier. Here though is that battle for the lead. It's been raging on as we've been watching closer competition up and down the order, but Burke, McIntyre and Bauer, top 3, separated by around 9/10 of a second as we see car number 38 handed 15 seconds for a collision with car number 63, and I'm not quite sure who number 38 is, that escapes me at the moment, but 63 is Max Spooner of E-Team Brit, so we'll have to see if that is applied during the race or post-race. So the competition continuing though. McIntyre, David, look at the moment, they all seem so well matched on pace. It's a bit of a stalemate between the top 3 at the moment, isn't it? Burke lapping in the 50.2, McIntyre behind just set the fastest lap of the race of 50.1, and then Bauer in third doing a 50.3. There's absolutely nothing to separate them.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It's what you love to see at the top end, and it's something that we've had in a handful of races, but not with Luca Burke. He's never necessarily been held back as he has been at the moment. I've just had a quick look at the stewards report. It was car number 39 rather than 38, so it looks like the broadcast message had the wrong number in. That's Pierre-Olivier Cloutier, so he's going to get another time penalty. As you can see, Al Buncombe's been slapped with a stop-go 20-second penalty. I can only assume that is for the love tap or the nudge, whatever you want to call it, on John Clements going through Variante Alto, who sent him off to stage left and into the wall. But yeah, it's one of those, it's a real tense battle, this. It looks like they're just sitting behind each other for the time being. They're not necessarily looking to make any moves early doors, because I think they know if any of them get caught up, especially Florian Bauer, if he gets caught up battling with Jack McIntyre, Luca Burke's just going to disappear off at the road, and that is not something either of these drivers wants.
So as they come up to cross the line, we're nearing the halfway point of the race, and the battle for the lead is still very much intense. Top 3, as we're looking back from just under the spoiler of Luca Burke's number 87 car, we see Florian Bauer looking to the inside of McIntyre into Tamburello. Can he get the job done? There's a side-to-side contact, McIntyre up over the curb, and as Bauer runs 2 wheels over the grass, looks like he's managed to hold the position. No, McIntyre fights back on the exit of the left-hander. Looks like he's going to get the position back into Villeneuve up the inside, but Bauer tries to go the long way round. He's late on the brakes and goes off into the gravel, able to rejoin. He's now going to come under fire from Thomas Wright, who goes to the inside into Tozer. That could be a change for third place. Yes, the number 2 MSL Motorsports car benefits from the drama to see himself in a rostrum position at the moment. And David, I got the feeling it was all bubbling up for a moment like that. And Florian Bauer looked like he had got the job done, but again, with that switchback sequence at Tamburello, just running deep can cost you plenty of time.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. Yeah, it was one of those. It almost smatters of frustration coming from the head of Florian Bauer there. He just looked like he had the move done and then just had to back out of it as he came out of the final apex through Tamburello. You saw it there. If he hadn't have backed out, which you'd imagine he did, he would have gone out onto the gravel and would have been much worse off. And then really that move into Villeneuve just wasn't on. He was around the outside, I get that, but it just went a little bit too deep and of course just put himself under too much pressure. And basically did exactly what I expected them not to do at this point on the last lap. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm not going to say anything this time, and I wonder whether he'll try the move on Tom instead. But that's given Luca Burke an all-important 2-second gap ahead. We'll keep an eye on Jack McIntyre to see whether we can start to close that down.
So with a little over half the race done and a little under half the race still to go, let's run you through the standings as they cross the line. Luca Burke leads the way from Jack McIntyre, a gap now of 2 seconds, with Tom Wright in 3rd place, battling hard with Florian Bauer here, who's dropped back to 4th position. Then it's Ross McGregor in 5th place, a further 3 seconds back. Then it's a gap of 9 seconds back towards Daniel Handover in 6th place, with Chris Crossman and David Belanger all running within 2 seconds, and Regan Mitchell in 9th place, with John Clements rounding out your top 10. Stain Paspont's battled up to 11th position, just ahead of teammate Kieran Vidago. Steve Hinden up to 13th as well, after fighting past the 2 EG Motorsport cars of Pierre-Olivier Cloutier and Thomas Lavoie, who rounds out your 15 points scoring positions at the moment. Then it's Darrell Upton in 16th, Max Spooner 17th, Bradley Brockers 18th, and Al Bunkum's currently in 19th position, but in pit lane and looking unlikely to return to action, with a couple of penalties against his name, and indeed another one being handed, as we see here. Bauer looking very close to Ryer. These guys have battled already in this championship, and now the fight's going to resume here at Imola. Let's see if Bauer can complete the move up the inside in towards Tamburello, as Handover now is coming under fire from Crossman in the battle for 6th. Really, David, got the feeling that Bauer's got good speed in that car, but potentially impatience is what cost him the time and a couple of positions there.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. He's certainly looking racy this evening, isn't he? He's certainly not afraid to put himself amongst it, and he's it's just unfortunate that, like you say, maybe smatters of frustration, a little bit of a lack of composure, maybe just making the moves when he doesn't necessarily need to. Like I say, although it's an hour race, it is classed as a sprint race. It's still quite a long time. Like I say, we're only 35 minutes or nearly 35 minutes in, so still just under halfway to go. So he just needs to cool it down a little bit, maybe not try and make the move. Plus, when you've got someone like Tom Ryer in front of you as well, who you know is quick, you know that gap's going to be clawed back relatively quickly as Regan Mitchell goes around the outside of David Belanger, and then, as I say, that hits a sausage curb, drops him back, and he goes back down into 9th place. But one thing I'm keeping an eye on, Tim, is the fact that Jack McIntyre has gained 3/10 on Luca Burke on that last lap. So that race for the front spot is still well from over.
A purple middle sector from Jack McIntyre shows that in clean air, he certainly got very good pace on the run through Villeneuve and all the way towards Aqua Minerale. So let's see if McIntyre can continue that momentum and close the gap to race leader Luca Burke. On screen at the moment, this is Handover battling away with Chris Crossman, who has that 15-second penalty to his name for contact earlier on in the race. They're going hammer and tongs at it for P6 on the run up the hill through Aqua Minerale and up towards Variante Outer. Waiting in the wings, though, is David Belanger in the 222 EGT Motorsports car. A PA is a strong performance from David at the moment. It would be his best result of the season so far. His best finish being 9th place at Paul Ricard last time out. So let's see if David can continue and hold on to this position for another strong points finish. He's just been benefiting from the drama that's kicked off in this opening 35 minutes, but racing clean. He doesn't seem to have too many dents and scuffs on the EGT Motorsport car as Crossman pulls out of the slipstream. It's going to be on the outside of Handover on the run down in towards Tamburello. We have seen this move executed, but can the number 3 pull it off? No, he opts to file in behind, but Handover, on running deep in defending his position, has lost momentum, and on the exit, Crossman goes all the way around the outside. In fact, looks to have got the position wrapped up on the run into Villeneuve. Fantastic heads-up driving from Crossman there to just carry the momentum and switch back into an open lane and get the job done, David.
Yeah, absolutely. That was thinking at least a few corners ahead from the BD Racing machine there. Fantastic work from Chris to get the move done. Of course, it's all really not really going to amount to much, you'd imagine, based on the penalty he's got against his name. And Dan Handover's going to have to try again. He didn't look like he wanted to hand over that position. I'll cross that one off my bingo list and move swiftly on, but didn't manage to hold on. It was a great move from Chris, and he's got 12 seconds ahead of him to Ross McGregor, who seems to have fallen off the tail slightly of that leading quartet, who are only separated by 3.5 seconds, would you believe, despite everything that's gone on between them as they go into Variante Outer. Chris is just going to have to try and knuckle down. He's got 23 and a bit minutes to go to try and gain a little bit of a gap, or really just try and stretch his legs and think about the gap a bit further down the field and see if he can come back out in a points paying position come the end of this race.
Well, what might be working in the favour of the number 3 BD Racing driver is the fact that battling has cost them just a little bit of time, owing to the nature of running side by side, and that has brought David Belanger into the mix. Okay, he's just under a second back, but he's certainly in contention if the number 222 can lap consistently and match the pace. It's waiting in the wings for some drama to play out once again. Crossman looking in fine form at the moment as they run into Tamburello, where that incident, the side-by-side occurred on the previous lap, with a cleaner run through there as they all take their individual lines. Just in the back of shot there's the black and white Cayman of Regan Mitchell, who's managed to fight through despite that rather sizable contact with Jack Noller into the Ravazza. So Mitchell's still in the points as Tom Wright runs slightly wide through the Piratella, and that might allow Florian Bauer to just close up a little bit more as they run into Acqua Minerale. This battle between the number 2 and number 10 has been going on for the last 20 minutes or so, and it looks like it could be bubbling up into another encounter. Burke isn't stretching away though, David, despite setting the fastest lap on the previous tour, 150.1. He really isn't getting that far away. He hasn't disappeared out of camera shot, and we've seen Burke do so many times before.
Absolutely, Tim. It's not like the Imola race we saw at the start of season 1, is it, where he just checked out. I think he had about a 12 or 13 second gap come the end of the race. Jack McIntyre is certainly keeping him honest, and it's what he has to do ahead of the final championship round at Silverstone next week. Of course, a 90-minute feature race on the 7th of June for your eyes and ears next week, and Jack is still mathematically, well, he's, in fact, between him and Ross McGregor, they are the 2 closest people to fending off Luca from getting a second successive championship. So keeping him close and keeping him in check is going to be very important, and whilst you're there you want to try and get yourself the fastest lap as well, which currently we said was going to Luca Burke a minute ago, is now going to Florian Bauer as Tom Ryer just likes to get out of it there. He was on the grass for quite a while going through that straight towards Villeneuve, and seems to almost let Florian Bauer through, which is very interesting.
Change of position then for third place, the final step on the podium now in the hands of Florian Bauer as they run up the hill towards Piratella. Ryan looks like he's going to be fighting back almost immediately up the run up the hill. He's in the slipstream, doesn't opt to look up the inside, instead following in behind, potentially aware that Bauer's got strong pace and they could close up to McIntyre and scrap it out for second place. As we head into the final 20 minutes of this one, and on the run up the hill through Acqua Minerale, it was slightly suboptimal there from Bauer. Rye looking to the inside into Variante Outer, but opts to just file back in line through the chicane. So let's run you through the order then. Luca Burke leads the way, but he's not scampering into the distance. A gap of 1.6 seconds over Jack McIntyre. Then Florian Bauer rounds out the podium. Tom Rye in 4th place in the number 2 MSL Motorsports car. Then there's a gap of 6 seconds back to Ross McGregor, who's currently second in the championship, but will be looking like his position will become under fire with some contenders scoring higher than him. Chris Crossman in 6th place with a 15-second penalty still to his name. The Daniel Handover in 7th ahead of David Belanger, but they've closed up together. Belanger now 4 tenths behind in the battle for 7th place. Then Regan Mitchell in 9th, John Clements 10th. Staying Passpont, Steve Hindon and Pierre-Olivier Cloutier is in 13th and on screen at the moment, and looking for a way past the series organiser in the esports designs number 18 machine, with Kieran Vidago waiting in the wing, 7/10 back in 14th place. Then it's Thomas Lavoie in 20th round. In the 20 car, rounding out your top 15 for EGT Motorsports. He'll be the final point scorer on the road as it stands. As I go through Tamburello, Pierre-Olivier Cloutier closing up to the back of Steve Hindon as they run through and down towards Villeneuve, looking to the inside and unable to get the move done there. Steve Hindon's car looking a little bit worse, whereas a huge slide behind for Kieran Vidago. He would have been all crossed up inside that number 4 Simsport racing machine to keep that one on the grey stuff. Certainly not what you want to be doing to get through Villeneuve quickly, David.
No, absolutely. And speaking of number 4 car, the man in 4th position, Tom Ryan, has actually got himself a drive-through, Tim. So he's going to be dropping well out of contention of this race. And as a result, again, another one bites the dust in terms of championship chances. Again, had an outside chance, but that's going to be going away from him after that drive-through. That does give Florian Bauer just a chance to relax a little bit now. He's not going to need to push as much, but I'm sure he'll still be pushing. Florian Bauer is that kind of one who, well, we saw him put the cat amongst the pigeons in a rather amusing way last week with the bump draft to help Jack Noller try and fend off Jack McIntyre at Paul Ricard last week. As you see, Pierre-Olivier Cloutier getting all over the back. Does seem to have the pace on the number 80 car of Hindon as they come down towards Ravazza 1. Hindon shape just goes all over the curb, and Cloutier, lovely move down the inside. I think that's as he goes. Gets a little bit of oversteer almost coming out of the first Ravazza onto the second one. Steve Hindon's just about got it, but look at the closing speed and the exit that Cloutier gets. He's all alongside Steve Hindon. In fact, he's going to be looking like he's passed him before they cross the line. Of course, all of it in vain, courtesy of that 30-second penalty. But these two putting on a bit of a show, and Kieran Vidago's ready and waiting in the wings to mop up anything that might happen. Cloutier covers the outside line, slightly aggressive going into the braking zone, just closes the door to Hindon trying to make the move, and just about after a couple of laps of trying, as they both go through the grass, manages to hold on to the position for the time being, as Vidago, for whatever reason, is giving Hindon a bit of a flash of the lights behind.
As they run through Villeneuve, Vidago getting a cleaner run through the sequence of corners there in comparison to his previous lap. In fact, he's looking to the inside of Hindon through the left-hand hairpin at Tozer. So it's 3 cars nose to tail battling it out for 12th place. Cloutier and Hindon and Vidago all scrapping at the towards the bottom end of the points. Points down to 15th place. As I wonder actually where Tom Ryer will emerge from his drive-through. I think he'll be potentially with this group or behind, considering how long the pit lane is. So that's going to be crucial for championship contention. And just as I say that, Tom Ryer heads into pit lane. So let's see where the number 2 car emerges. As through Variante Alta, Steve Hindon got a great run through the chicane. Is in fact once again alongside Pierre-Olivier Cloutier. So they run down the hill into the left at Ravazza. Can Hindon get past? Yes, but can he get the car stopped? No, he runs slightly deep into the exit curb there, and it allows Cloutier to dip up the inside and get the position back. But Hindon will have the slipstream. Doesn't need it though. On the run on to the start-finish bend, he's a side-by-side with the number 39 EGT Motorsports car as they cross the line. There's a blue flag waving. I'm not too sure who that was for. Oh! The top of his contact, a side to side. That was immediate, and Hindon somehow avoids the car behind of Vidago. Vidago would have seen his life flash before his eyes. That was such a strange incident there. It just seemed like the cars just pinged off each other, David.
Oh, goodness me. Shades of Raikkonen and Russell, was it, from the F1 a couple of weeks ago, with exactly the same kind of thing. Just looked like neither of them really knew where the other one was. I was actually just about to say, it was almost like watching a complete replay of what we had in the last lap, which is the other way around. As you see a replay, Florian Bauer going very deep into Acqua Minerale, spins it just about, holds on to it. Now he goes all the way around. That promotes Ryer up into third. Of course, he's gone in for the drive-through. But yes, Tim, just one of those. Steve Hindon, you see they've gone back into the pits. There was a massive shunt into the tyre wall. So unsurprisingly, doesn't look like he's going to be able to finish this race, and that's a real shame. Bit of a coming together, racing so cleanly up until that point, and yeah, neither of them seemed to know where the other one was. Bit of a coming together, spat them both out, and Hindon came off much the worse in that one.
Looking right down the order to who might be a beneficiary from this, and it is that number 63 E-Team Brit car, Max Spooner, because if he can hold on to the pace and keep a relatively strong distance from the field, with the gap to Pierre-Olivier Cloutier around about 23 seconds, the number 39 car has a 30-second penalty to be added, so we could see a maiden points finish for one of the E-Team Brit drivers, which would be fantastic to see in the season. As Daniel Handover on screen, he's coming under fire from David Belanger. These two have been around half a second separating the two of them for the past few laps. Belanger, though, looks to have met his match as he runs slightly wide on the exit of Villeneuve, unable to close up enough to get a pass done on the number 43 Zancho Simsport car. As Chris Crossman up the road, just disappearing out of shot, the number 3 BD Racing Machine with a 15-second penalty to be applied post-race. So we'll see where that leaves him. In fact, he ran very wide there through Piratella and managed to rejoin the track. But here is the battle for the race lead with just under 12 and a half minutes to go. McIntyre has closed the gap to Luca Burke. It was nearly 2 seconds at one point. Now it's down to 0.8 of a second separating the top two. McIntyre will be close enough to benefit from some sort of slipstream, as we just elapsed with 12 minutes now on the clock to go, 25 laps completed, and David, the timer is running out, but McIntyre needs to be careful here. He needs to pick his move and make sure it's the right one and that it's going to stick, because Burke, as much as he's scoring and benefiting in the championship massively, will want the race victory.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out. Like I say, 11 minutes of that battle still to go as Handover on the back of Crossman. We saw Crossman going a little bit wide through Piratella on the last lap, so it's put himself into a bit of pressure from Handover in the number 43 machine. I've just seen from the YouTube chat as well that they've mentioned the Handover joke to the lads in the Zancho voice chat, and there was a series of groans, shall we say. I'm sure that's not the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last time he's heard it, but I'll make sure it's the last time I say it. So yeah, just going back up to that battle at the front, Tim, like you say, it's getting closer every lap. Jack McIntyre is actually 0.8 of a second quicker than Luca Burke on the last lap, so he's really got the pace on the Rocket Simsport car, and of course he's got championship ambitions of his own. One man who's going to be keeping a very keen eye, I'm sure, on that battle is one man called Ross McGregor, because if these two do come together for whatever reason, he is going to be the primary beneficiary, because if these two come together to an extent which drops them further down, Ross is going to be the one picking up all the points if he needs to. So something to keep an eye out for. Not only does Jack want to win the race, but he's also got to be a little bit careful as well.
Again, Ross McGregor is there or thereabouts, picking up strong points. So you're going to see him within a chance of a mathematical championship at the final round at Silverstone, but he's going to have to pull it out of the bag, and he won't be able to do one of these stealthy performances to strong points. He will need to go out and beat Burke on track at Silverstone to take the championship. As we see, McIntyre closer than he has been now in the slipstream on the run up towards Tamburello. Doesn't look to the inside though, instead opts just to follow Burke through the opening sequence of corners. But it certainly looks like a move is going to come at some point. As we go picture in picture, you can see in the bottom right hand corner, that is your battle for the race lead. But on screen, the larger picture is the battle for 5th place. Chris Crossman, who has a 15-second penalty, leads the way in 5th place. Daniel Handover, David Belanger and Regan Mitchell all together on track. 4 drivers battling for a top 5 finish. Crossman, with that penalty though, will be tumbling down the order, so count him out of 5th place at the moment, but he could still play a hand into the results of those around him. As we head into the final 10 minutes of the race, I'll give you a running order. It's Burke leads the way by 0.2, which now just hopped up to half a second through that middle sector. So Burke leads McIntyre, then Bauer rounding out the podium with Ross McGregor in fourth. Then it's Chris Crossman who leads this train of cars on screen that comprises of Daniel Handover, David Belanger and Regan Mitchell, the number 69 of the Simsport Solutions team, fighting through to 8th place despite contact with Jack Noller. Then it's John Clements in the number 88 podium sim racing car, 9th ahead of Stain Passpont, on for 10th position at the moment. Tom Ryer in 11th ahead of Pierre-Olivier Cloutier, who has 30 seconds to be added to his race time. Kieran Radaga in 13th ahead of Thomas Lavoie, and Daryl Upton rounds out your top 15 with Max Spooner in the number 63 team Brit car, still in contention for a points finish. We'll have to see how the time gaps play out over the remaining 8 minutes of this race. But there's battles up and down the order, David, as always. It looks like, though, on that previous lap, McIntyre's been dropped slightly by Burke, so potentially our reigning champion is aware that he's coming under fire and he's going to have to kick on to keep McIntyre at bay. But this battle here between Crossman and Handover is interesting because they're taking points, strong points at the moment, but crucially, Crossman's 15-second penalty is going to see him drop right down the order and elevate the likes of Handover and Belanger up to better positions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to promote, I would imagine, it's going to promote everyone down to potentially Stain Passport might benefit as well. That remains to be seen. There's still what you've got just over 15 seconds back to them. But of course, if they keep battling the way they are, then Passport's going to be well within that time differential. One time differential I'm keeping a keen eye on because I'd love to see him get his first points in the series is Max Spooner back from Pierre-Olivier Cloutier. He's actually just over 27 seconds behind at the moment. So if you can hold within that 30-second gap, of course, like you said, he is going to get that first point for the E-Team, Brit Team, which would be lovely to see. But at the moment, yeah, Handover not quite able to make the move on Crossman. And as you can see from the top of the standings, McIntyre, like you said, just dropping back a little bit off the back of Luca Burke now. So like I said, whether Luca Burke's just giving himself the hurry up or whether Jack's sort of lost a bit of time as well remains to be seen. But it looks like Luca Burke's just starting to edge away a small amount once more.
So on the run through the Variante outer chicane, Crossman gapping slightly from Handover, half a second between the two of them. This quartet is now splintered into two pairings with behind, that's David Belanger in the 222, battling with Regan Mitchell for 7th and 8th places respectively. And David, in terms of championship situation, with Burke winning, if he does indeed hold on to his lead, the gap now up to over a second to Jack McIntyre. Really, he's just got to finish strongly at Silverstone. No need to go out and win the race. It's really advantage Burke, but his competition are going to have to really pull something out of the bag in the final feature race to stop him from retaining his title.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It does look like potentially it's penciled in for a Luca Burke championship victory for the second season running. However, that doesn't mean that still remains to be seen. As you can see, confirmation of another 15-second penalty coming to the 23 car of Al Buncombe. I think that's actually a repeat message because that was with John Clements, so I believe that's been sorted. Incident between Steve Hinden and Pierre-Olivier Cloutier to be investigated after the race, which is understandable given the seismic coming together they had. I think I can use that word in fair retrospect, but yeah, it just does seem like Luca, but yeah, he's just got to keep it easy. Of course, the benefit that Ross McGregor has is that he's returned for every single race in the championship so far. So when it comes to Silverstone after that, he will be receiving an additional 7 points attendance bonus. So that does give him a crumb of comfort should he need it. But he is, like you say, he's going to have to try and step away from being captain consistent for a race. He's going to have to try and go out there, put the stall out and go heavy-handed and try and get the win. See if he can keep Luca Burke a few positions behind him at the same time.
Really, the only possibility is Burke's incident under investigation with Jack Noller. Obviously, that will be looked into post-race. So the result tonight in terms of race victory, if it stays the same in its remaining 4 minutes and 16 seconds, is very much provisional. So on board with Regan Mitchell, looking at the rear of David Belanger's number 222 EGT Motorsports car, and look at the slipstream benefit Mitchell has as they cross the start-finish line. David Belanger doesn't fight too hard, opts to go to the outside, which could be a very strong position to take, as we've seen many positions gained and lost around the outside. But Belanger loses out to Mitchell, who manages to skip through the opening sequence at Tamburello and up into 7th place. A strong finish from Mitchell, who has finished in the points in every race of this championship, including season 1, bar one race being Spa-Francorchamps. So Regan has the habit of getting into the points and scoring strongly, and we've seen it once again today, up to 7th place after starting the race from 9th position and involved in quite a sizable hit with Jack Noller's number 36 MSL Motorsports car down at the Ravazza curve. On screen at the moment, this is the battle once again for 5th place between Chris Crossman and Daniel Handover. They very much dropped Regan Mitchell and David Belanger 3.1 seconds. Now the gap back to the number 69 Simsport Solutions car, who's harried by the number 222 as they go through Variante Alta. Looks like we should get around 3 more laps, but we'll see how that changes as and when Burke crosses the start-finish line on the run down the hill towards Ravazza. Handover unable to get a move done, but Crossman runs slightly wide there. That's going to compromise him through the final part of Ravazza, and Handover really is in the hot seat with the slipstream. And Chris Crossman's going to be a little bit furious about that penalty, because 5th place would really be a strong finish for the number 3 BD Racing driver. His best performance has been a 3rd place, which came at Kyalami, where teammate Kev Critchley took a dominant victory. It was a 1-3 for the BD Racing team. But 5th place would be exceptionally strong nonetheless. But a shame that will change as a result of the 15-second penalty he has to his name. David, it looks like it's game, set and match Luca Burke. Okay, there's this incident to be investigated post-race, but the gap at the front is now up to and over 3 seconds back to Jack McIntyre. Looks like he should be able to just cruise to the line.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a really well-managed race, hasn't it, from Luca? Of course, he had that little coming together, which, like you say, is going to be investigated. Remains to be seen what will happen there. If I was going to shove my 2 pence in, I would suggest it was probably a racing incident, but I appreciate the fact, of course, with the permutations it has attached, I can understand why the stewards didn't want to have a look during the race itself. I've just noticed we've actually lost Stain Passpont as well, unfortunately, so he's dropped back, and I've also noticed that a man who was near him, Tom Ryer, has got a 15-second penalty for his troubles. So I don't know if there was a coming together between those two, which is a bit of a shame. Which does, though, mean that our E-Team Brit driver Max Spooner will be getting a point for his troubles. You see there confirmation of the 15-second penalty for Tom Ryan. There you can see confirmation of contact with the 444, which was the now departed Stain Passpont. But yeah, just going back to Luca Bertin, like you say, he's managed it to what he has done since he's got into the lead of the race. He's looked under fire, but he's handled everything that's come at him, and rightly, I would say, deserves this race win at this point in time.
Coming under fire, though, on this, what should be the final lap of the race, is Chris Crossman as Daniel Handover dives to the outside on the run into Tamburello. No, Crossman able to close the door through the second part of the opening sequence of corners. On the run down towards the left-right at Villeneuve, Crossman holds on to P5 on the road, but that should change as a result of his penalty. Luca Burke, though, in the picture, all alone on track. 3.6 seconds is his advantage over Jack McIntyre as they run through the first sector. It's gone out another 2/10 just for safe keeping. Burke looking in exceptionally strong form tonight and really making the best of the situation despite the contact with Noller, despite looking like he had competition from Jack McIntyre into the second half of the race. He's been able to keep clean, keep out front, and keep his championship very much alive. And the likelihood is Burke's in the hot seat to retain his eSport Designs Cayman Supercup title. Out of the final corner at Ravazza and on the run to take the checkered flag, it's been brilliant from Burke who stands a shot of taking title number 2. He crosses the line to win at Imola, followed home by Jack McIntyre, who takes second place on the roads, his best performance since the opening round at Barcelona. Florian Bauer crosses the line to take third ahead of Ross McGregor, who once again finishes in P4. Chris Crossman harried home by Daniel Handover. Of course, the number 3 BD Racing car will drop down the order as a result of that 15-second penalty. Regan Mitchell crosses the line in 7th ahead of David Belange's number 222 EGT Motorsports car. John Clements takes 9th with Tom Ryer in 10th with 30 seconds of penalties to his name. The same can be said of the number 39 of Pierre-Olivier Cloutier, who will cross the line in 11th place. Kieran Vidago takes the checkered flag in 12th, but will surely be the beneficiary of the penalties to those above, with Thomas Lavoie in 13th, Darrell Upton in 14th, and behind Max Spooner, who's coming down the hill towards Ravazza in the final 2 corners, is set to score points for the first time. A maiden finish inside the top 15 for the number 63 E-Team Brit squad. See a 1 point against his name, but it could change should there be penalties applied and the order switch around with 30 seconds to Pierre-Olivier Cloutier. Let's see if that changes post-race. Crosses the line though and looks to be happy with that one. And David, the reality is the driver who's going to be coming away from tonight smiling the most is Luca Burke, because going into Silverstone, really it's advantaged him in returns of retaining his title. Kev Critchley down and out early on has really seen Burke one hand on the trophy, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Like you say, I wouldn't want to. I will say it is his championship to lose now at this stage. He's been relentless ever since missing the first race at Catalonia, and it shows you how quick he's been. The fact that he's top of the championship with a race to go, and like I say, by approximately, I think it's around about going to be 15 to 20 points minimum. Of course, like I say, depending on any results that come out of the stewards' meetings after the race. However, it certainly wasn't a quiet one, was it? Let's be honest. There was plenty of action. Some of it is likely less clean than others. I think we won't hide away from that. However, the racing itself and the racecraft we did see on display was absolutely fantastic. And to see that many people, I think I've probably saw about 5 or 6 different people potentially with the chance of winning the race at different points, is exactly what this Cayman Supercup is all about here with eSport Designs. And it's just such a shame it's going to have to end next week at Silverstone.
Well, the only stat going in our favour to see a different driver take the title is the fact that Luca Burke has been unable to win a feature race so far this season. So the championship comprising of 60-minute sprints like we had tonight at Imola, and also 90-minute feature races where drivers are mandated to make one visit to pit lane. We just saw on screen that incident with Kev Critchley off to track right on the exit of Villeneuve. And really, David, it's a shame to see Critchley's season put to bed like that, because he's been so quick when he's been racing, and he's been very much in with a chance of beating Burke on track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame for Kev. I'm sure he'll be disappointed. Of course, it's not the way he would have wanted to lose that championship chance, but it is one of those. It's a difficult one, and I'm sure he'll be back firing and ready for the race at Silverstone. Even though there's not a chance for championship on the line, I'm sure he'll be doing his best to get a good result regardless. But anyway, I'll hand over to you, Tim, because I know you've got a load of people ready to have a chat with you, so I'll let you ask away with those interviews.
So I'm here in the interview room with a number of drivers who took part in round 6 of the eSport Designs Cayman Supercup in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy here at Imola tonight. We'll go to our race victor, number 87, Rocket Simsport, Luca Burke. Luca, a race victory, another one to your name in this championship. But it looked like there was a few incidents along the way that certainly made it more difficult. But the record book will say pole and race victory. How was your event tonight?
Interesting, wasn't it? I don't know how it was from a spectator's point of view, but yeah, it was quite eventful, which I'm delighted to say, even though maybe not the, how do how they say this. Maybe not the cleanest race, but I don't know what happened there, so I won't really say much about it. But yeah, I had fun, and well, definitely can't complain about another win. So yeah, and I'll take it.
Brilliant stuff. And obviously tonight, the penultimate race of the season, this puts you in pretty strong standing to retain your title. But one statistic going against your name is that you're yet to win one of these feature races. Do you have a strategy up your sleeve for Silverstone next time out?
Well, that's a statistic I wasn't aware of. You gave me something to aim for. Thank you. No, haven't really thought that far ahead yet. I've just, like I said before, I just focus one race at a time. But well, you've given me a target, so I guess that's what I'm going for. Brilliant stuff. And obviously, going into that final round, although yes, like you say, I've given you that target to aim for. It's going to be about scoring strongly with your competition, like Kev Critchley not finishing the race, and you're beating your competition in the form of Ross McGregor, who's down in fourth, and of course Jack McIntyre, who harried you home in second. Does your attitude to the final race change? Is it about going out to win every race, or is it actually come race day about just scoring strongly and taking home that title? See, you ask me things I really don't think about that far. I usually just have the approach, just do whatever I can. So it's probably going to carry over to Silverstone as well. Just get good grips with the car, and then just see what I can do. That's more or less it. Well, congratulations on your result tonight, Luke. I look forward to seeing you aiming for that target next time out, Silverstone. Thank you. We'll go over to our second place finishers, Ancho Simsport's Jack McIntyre. Jack, wasn't the cleanest race, but there were certainly some exciting battles, and in that second half it looked like you were close to challenging for the race victory. How was your event this evening?
Yeah, it was good. If I'm honest, I wasn't really expecting to be up there with the pace this week. Not had as much preparation as I have in other weeks, so it was good to jump in the car and be there or thereabouts. The race was good. There were a few incidents, as you said, but I think it was mostly fair and good racing. So yeah, had a good result, and yeah, chuffed.
Another podium finish to your name. Second place, though, still is your best result of the season. You're going out for the win next time out at Silverstone. Surely you go on the end of the season on the highest of highs.
Yeah, it will be good. I mean, I don't think I'm in with a shot anymore of the win based on points with Luca's win this week. And I was kind of racing like that today anyway. I knew Luca was way ahead on points, and the only way I could possibly have a chance of winning the championship is if he had a DNF. So I just kind of sat in the supporting role behind him and made sure not to pressure him too much. And I think that's probably what will happen next week at Silverstone if we get the opportunity. So, but you never know. We'll see how it unfolds. If there's carnage at turn one, then anything can happen.
Well, brilliant stuff. Well, congratulations on your result tonight, Jack. Look forward to seeing you next time out at Silverstone.
Cheers, Tim. Thank you.
And we shall go over to a driver who was certainly in the wars, Jack Noller of MSL Motorsport. Jack, you were looking like you had the pace to beat Luca tonight. You got the jump off the start, led for the opening few laps, and then there was that incident with Luca. It would be interesting to get your side of the incident that took place as he battled for the race lead, but completely understand if you want to not impact the investigation, because we understand it's carrying on post-race, but looked like a little bit of side-to-side contact on the run into Tamburello.
Yeah, it was great to be right up there this weekend. I like him when there was a track, and I was really happy to actually get qualifying nailed this time. Great to be up there, and P2 got a great start, got the run off the start, and it seemed that I had a bit less wing on than Luca, so he would catch back up in the corners, and I managed to pull away in the final bit of the last sector. As you said, going into turn one, bit of door to door. I broke as late as I knew would get stopped for the corner, and then the contact happened later on the braking zone after I'd got a clear left. But it is what it is. A bit of chaos on the way back on as well. Bit of contact there put me a bit further back, and I have to apologise to Regan Mitchell. I was a bit blindsided, as in a bit blind in that right kink and couldn't quite judge where the grass was. So I apologise for that contact later on. That ultimately put me out the race, but glad to see that he kept going.
Well, congratulations on a strong season, though, Jack. I think you found some pace in the Cayman. Looking back at the results, are you happy with how things have gone heading into Silverstone? Do you think you stand a chance of taking a victory in the final round?
Yeah, we'll see. It's like definitely gotten stronger as we've gone on, especially from round one. Managed to understand the car a lot more, how to drive it, how to set it up. That was good, especially from help from the likes of Florian and Tom. That's been a really good team to work together and help with that. Congratulations to him on P3 as well, and Jack and Luca for the rest of the podium too.
Thank you very much, Jack, and congratulations on a strong season. Look forward to seeing you next time out at Silverstone.
All right, take care.
We'll go over to our third place finisher, Florian Bauer from the Esport Designs team. Florian, you got the sprint race all sorted tonight, but you were certainly in the wars. Plenty of battles towards the front of things. Podium finish, though. You've got to be happy with the result tonight.
Yeah, it's an absolutely relieving moment for me to achieve the podium now after all the struggles before. Yeah, really happy with the pace today. Could be enough for a fight on P1. Unfortunately, some mistakes and good defending from Jack and Luca there. And yeah, in the end, the setup worked quite well. Felt very confident on the car. Could close up to them 2 times. Yeah, sadly, I just spun Aqua Minerali the 3rd time, and then I just went for safe ending with 3 cut warnings, and yeah, don't want to get the drive-through to fall back again.
But overall, though, your season so far has been... It's certainly had ups and downs, hasn't it? I think you'll agree with that. But to get a podium right towards the end of the season, you must be looking at a repeat performance next time out at Silverstone.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I'm looking forward for Silverstone now. Could be a good track for me and Tom and Jack as well. We'll give a lot of practice on that. Yeah, at the moment, I'm absolutely happy with the place I got, and yeah, I think I already also got the fastest lap. Not sure, but I think. Yeah, I mean, good evening from my side.
Well, congratulations on the P3 tonight, Florian. Look forward to seeing you next time out at Silverstone.
Yes, mate.
We'll go over to our series organiser, Steve Hinden, obviously racing in the number 80 Sport Designs car. Steve, your race unravelled towards the end there with quite a high-speed contact, but before that, you certainly look to be exchanging paint that you've applied to these cars with a number of the other drivers. How was your race this evening?
Oh, you can hear me all right, sorry.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, not fun. From what I gather, it was quite a scrappy race tonight. I'm a bit disappointed, actually, with some of the standards of driving this evening. Yes, once again, there was a bit some issues with me, but rather than quit out and rather than sort of finish it there, I thought I'd try and give it a go and see how it goes. And I started pulling some back, and I started sort of getting my pace back again and started getting back up the numbers, and I took out again. So yeah, not the best race ever, really. But then again, it's kind of a bit reminiscent of the rest of the series.
Well, a P12 though in qualifying. Do you feel like you found some more pace in this car? Obviously, you've raced all season 1 and all of season 2. Do you feel like you've improved in this Cayman as the competition has heated up around you?
Yeah, I mean, I said I think it was a couple of races ago. The longer laps, Spa and Port. I had a terrible race last week at Boracard. I'm not very quick there. I'm not very good at the long tracks. I'm better at the sort of short, more technical circuits like Kyalami and Imola. And I was hoping to do really quite well, actually. And yes, I did have probably one of my best qualifying sessions this series. Thought I was going to do quite good. There was a couple of incidents in the first few corners that I managed to avoid. Normally I'm first in there and last out. There was a couple of incidents I managed to avoid, and I started to gain some places up, and I thought I was going to have a bit better race this week, but clearly not.
Well, thank you though from myself and the commentary team, Steve, and I'm sure plenty of the drivers have enjoyed racing in the championship. Final round at Silverstone. You looking forward to getting some more points there, or will you be? Do you think you're going to have to get it done in qualifying to see yourself avoid any drama?
Oh, I think I might start at the back, mate, and just just try and avoid what happens in front of me. Just while I'm on here, rather than talking about the race here, I just want to say a thank you to you and Dave and Steve and the stewards for doing a really good job again. As usual, guys, you're really smashing it. The stream looked really great. Commentary, from what I heard and sounded, looked is normal, usual Wicked standard. So, thank you to you lot again. You're doing a really good job.
Appreciate it greatly, Steve, and we look forward to seeing you next time out in the final round of the season at Silverstone.
Cheers, Tim. Thanks a lot, buddy.
We'll go back up to David. David, mixed tales, mixed fortunes for the drivers. They're interesting to hear from Burke that really, I feel like I shouldn't have told him that he hasn't won a feature race, because I feel like he's going to come out and wipe the floor with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Talking about a mixed bag for sure, like I say. It's good to hear some positives. Shame to hear some of the guys weren't particularly pleased the way their races went, but unfortunately that's obviously just the rub of the green you get on occasion. But yeah, it's it's a bit ominous the way that you spoke to Luca there, wasn't it? Like you say, you gave him something to aim for, and I'm guessing if he does that for every race, he's not too far off getting it every time. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. But yeah, feature race, like I say, is potentially not his bag so far, at least based on the results anyway, they don't lie. So yeah, we'll have to see how it comes out. But yeah, all signs point to him taking the championship win after the race next week.
So we'll wrap things up here then from round 6 of the Esport Designs Cayman Supercup in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. It was Luca Burke who rose to the top in an instant-filled race at Imola, but the championship is not decided and it will go down to the final round at Silverstone. Same time, same place next week for the finale of this Season 2 championship. Remember that when someone wakes up on Tuesday morning next week, they will be champion. Look forward to seeing so many of you there once again for the finale. I've been Tim Fullbrook, joined by David Wressell in the commentary booth, and with our broadcast coverage provided by Steve Proudley of Simsport Solutions. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you then. Goodbye.